August 2nd, 1944. A canvas-sided tent near Avranches, France. Night. The air is thick with cigar smoke and the smell of damp earth. Rain drums against the canvas. Inside, Lieutenant General George S. Patton paces, his polished boots sinking slightly into the mud floor. He stops, jabbing his cigar at a map spread across a rickety table. Red and blue arrows show his Third Army erupting from the Normandy beachhead, a breakout of spectacular, terrible success. Gentlemen, Patton's gravelly voice cuts through the rain. We are through the gap. We have Hitler by the nose and we're going to kick him. His G4 logistics officer, Colonel Walter J. Mueller, doesn't look up from his notepad. He looks haunted. General, that's aggressive, but we have a problem. A severe problem, Patton glares. Mueller, the only problem we have is that we're not moving fast enough. No, sir. The problem is we are moving that fast. Mueller taps his pencil. The 4th Armored Division. They advance 40 miles today. They are screaming for fuel. The 6th Armored is right behind them. Sir, my projections show that in 48 hours the entire Third Army will be static. We will be out of gasoline. The tent goes silent. The sound of the rain seems to magnate. Static is a death sentence. It means the panzers regroup. It means the breakout fails. Get me the fuel, Mueller. Patton roars. I don't care how. Steal it from 1st Army, steal it from Monty. But you get me the gas. Mueller nods, but his face is pale. He knows what Patton doesn't or won't accept. There is no fuel to steal. The ports are wrecked. The railways are pulverized by Allied bombs meant to stop the Germans. The Third Army hasn't just outrun the enemy. It has outrun its own lifeline. August 7th, 1944. A bombed-out chateau near Valognes, France. Headquarters Communication Zone, KOMZ. The aristocratic portraits on the walls are slashed, the chandeliers are shattered, and the air smells of mildew and stale tobacco. Lieutenant General John C. H. Lee, commander of COMZ, stares at a map covered in grease pencil. His problem is the inverse of Patton's. Patton sees glorious arrows moving east. Lee sees a terrifying stretching void. They've done it, Lee says, his voice flat. The combat boys have broken the line. An operations officer, Major Granberry, nods grimly. Yes, General. But they're moving faster than a truck can drive. The pursuit phase has officially outstripped our supply phase by a factor of 3. We plan to supply divisions 50 miles from the beaches. Patton is already 150 miles out and Hodges is right with him. The room is tense. These are the men Patton holds in contempt, the rear echelon, but they are the only ones who can prevent his victory from becoming a catastrophe. The rail lines? Lee asks, though he knows the answer. Non-existent, sir. Our own air forces did too good a job. The bridges at Chartres, Orléans, all gone. We're trying to rebuild, but it's weeks, maybe months. And Cherbourg. The port is a wreck. The Germans were thorough. We're getting a fraction of the planned tonnage ashore. What we do get, Major Granberry gestures to another map, is piling up on the beaches. We can't move it. A void. A glut. A logistical nightmare. The Allies are choking on their own supplies at the shore, while their armies are starving for them 200 miles inland. Colonel Loren Red Ayres, a transportation officer with a background in stateside logistics, clears his throat. General, we've been gaming this. The rail is out. The ports are slow. There's only one other way. Lee turns. What is it, Colonel? The roads, sir. Trucks. Granberry scoffs. Colonel, we are using trucks. They're getting lost. They're running into civilian traffic. They're breaking down. We don't have the men or the machines for this scale. No, Major, Ayres says, stepping forward. He grabs a red grease pencil. Not like this. I'm talking about a closed loop. A one-way highway dedicated only to supply. We clear every civilian, every other military unit off 2 main routes. One going east with supplies, one coming west empty, non-stop, 24 hours a day. He draws 2 thick red lines on the map, slashing from Cherbourg straight to the front. We'll mark it, like the railroads back home. Priority freight, we'll call it the Red Ball Express. The room is silent. The audacity of it is staggering, seizing the entire road network of northern France. General Lee looks at the red lines, then at Ayres. A 400-mile loop. Running day and night, Colonel. Where in God's name do we get the drivers for that? August 21st, 1944. A sprawling, chaotic supply dump near Cherbourg. Rain. Private First Class Lincoln. Link, Washington, 761st Quartermaster Battalion, leans on his shovel. For weeks, he and his company, all African American, have done nothing but unload crates. They sleep in damp pup tents, eat K-rations, and watch the endless columns of white combat troops move east. They are stevedores, laborers, pioneers. In the eyes of the Army, they are not frontline soldiers. Man, his friend Private Deacon Price mutters, wiping mud from his fatigues. We train to drive. We train to move. All we do is dig. A jeep, siren wailing, skids to a stop in the muck. A young, frantic-looking white lieutenant jumps out, waving a stack of mimeographed papers. Listen up, all personnel. Drop your tools, he shouts, his voice cracking. HQ wants a muster. Right now, anyone here trained to operate a 2.5-ton truck? Any man with a driver's license? Link and Deacon exchange a look. Slowly, Link raises his hand. Then Deacon, then the man next to him, and the man next to him. All down the line, hands go up. The lieutenant stares, his mouth open. Of the 200 men in the company, 180 are qualified drivers. You, and you, the lieutenant stammers, pointing. Get your gear. You're not quartermaster anymore. You're transportation corps. You leave in 1 hour. Where are we going, Lieutenant? Deacon asks. The lieutenant unfolds a map, his hands shaking slightly. He points to the red lines Ayers had drawn. You're going to Chartres, and then you're going to Reims, and then you're going to keep going until we tell you to stop. They're calling it the Red Ball Express. The desperation in the officer's eyes tells Link everything he needs to know. The Army hadn't planned this. The Army was desperate. They were turning to the only men they had left who could do the job. Within hours, thousands of men just like Link, from port battalions, engineer units, and other service outfits, are being pulled from their duties. They are handed a rifle, a helmet, and the keys to a brand new GMC deuce-and-a-half truck. Many of them haven't slept in 24 hours. None of them know they are about to become the lifeblood of the Allied invasion. August 25, 1944, 05:30 hours. A crossroads outside Saint-Lô, France. The air is cold and choked with diesel fumes. As far as the eye can see in both directions is a solid line of olive drab steel. Thousands of GMC CCKW trucks, deuce-and-a-halves, sit idling, their engines a deep, guttural rumble that vibrates in the chest. PFC Lincoln Washington grips the hard steering wheel of his truck, his knuckles white. The cab smells of canvas, oil, and fear. His truck is loaded with 10-gallon jerrycans of gasoline, a rolling bomb. Beside him, Deacon Price squints into the pre-dawn gloom, a .30 caliber carbine resting across his lap. Lord have mercy, Deacon whispers, looking at the endless convoy. Where'd they find all these? They found us, Link says grimly. A whistle shrieks. A military policeman, part of the 793rd MP Battalion, stands on a crate, his white gloves glowing in the dim light. He's waving a red flag. All right, you men. This is the Red Ball Express. He bellows through a megaphone. The rules are simple. You will maintain 25 miles per hour. No faster, no slower. You will maintain a 60-yard interval. You do not stop. You do not pass. You do not stop for anything. Not for a flat. Not for a breakdown. Not for snipers. Pull over and pray someone finds you. Your job is to get the freight to Chartres.
You got it?
A ragged hua ripples down the line. This road is marked with the red ball. You follow the red ball. You do not deviate. First convoy. Move out. With a groan of gears, the truck in front of Link lurches forward. Link pops the clutch and his own vehicle shudders. He shifts, finding the gear. The convoy begins to roll. They pass the MP, who points east down a road pockmarked with shell holes. Nailed to a shattered tree is a hastily painted wooden sign. A simple red circle. Just follow the ball, Link. Just follow the ball, Deacon mutters, chambering a round in his carbine. They are rolling. Link's eyes are fixed on the taillights of the truck in front of him. He hasn't slept in 30 hours. His hands already ache from gripping the wheel. The line of trucks disappears over the horizon. Behind him, he can hear hundreds more, their engines roaring to life. The Red Ball Express has begun its run, and it is already a monster. August 26, 1944, 03 hours. A ruined section of road near Dreux, France. Darkness. Total, oppressive, and absolute. The trucks run blackout with only 2 tiny cat's eye slits for headlights, casting a pathetic glow on the pulverized road. PFC Lincoln Washington's world has shrunk to the 2 dim red taillights of the truck 60 yards ahead. His body is rigid, his eyes burning from staring into the gloom. He's been driving for 22 hours. kept awake only by raw terror and the vibrating roar of the GMC engine. See that? Deacon whispers, pointing to a dark mass on the side of the road. Link squints. It's a 1.5 deuce nosed into a ditch, its cargo of artillery shells spilled like hard candy. There are no medics, no recovery crew. Just a single MP waving a flare, shouting over the din, "Keep it moving! Keep it moving! Close the gap!" Link grips the wheel tighter, easing past the wreck. The rule is absolute, the convoy never stops. Crack whine. A bullet sparks off the truck's steel hood. "Sniper!" Deacon yells, ducking and bringing his carbine up to the window. Right side. In that farmhouse. Crack, another round punches through the canvas cover behind them. "Can't stop, Deke," Link says, his voice a dry rasp. He floors the accelerator, breaking the 25mm rule. Desperate to get out of the kill zone. The truck behind him does the same. This is the gauntlet. The roads are a mess of shell craters and wreckage. German stragglers, bypassed by Patton's lightning advance, hide in the forests and ruined villages. They are desperate, angry, and they take aim at the endless river of trucks. Suddenly, a terrifying, ripping sound tears the air. Room. A German Messerschmitt Me-109, flying low, streaks over the convoy. Its cannons flash. "Get down!" Tracers stitch across the road just yards ahead. The truck in front of Link swerves, its tires screaming. Link slams his brakes, his cargo of gasoline sloshing violently. He fights the wheel, skidding on the wet pavement, coming to a stop just inches from the other truck's tailgate. His heart is pounding so hard he can't breathe. The Me-109 vanishes into the darkness. For a moment, the entire convoy is still. Then horns blare. MPs shout, "Move it! You're a target, move it!" Shaking, Link shifts the truck back into gear and pulls out. He has just broken every rule. He stopped. He broke formation. But he is alive. He looks at Deacon, who is pale but breathing. They know we're here, Link. They know. August 28, 1944. A captured farmhouse east of Soissons, France. Field headquarters, 11th Panzer Division remnants. Oberst Colonel Gerhard von Hoffacker, a veteran whose faded tunic bears the ribbon of the Eastern Front, stares at a map. His face is a mask of grime and exhaustion. His division is a ghost. It has fuel for perhaps one more defensive action, 10 kilometers of movement at most. A young Hauptmann, captain from his intelligence section, enters, his boots muddy. He doesn't bother to salute. "They are still moving, Herr Oberst," the captain reports, his voice hollow. "The road to the south. Route Nationale 12, it is endless." "Nonsense," Hoffacker snaps. "A convoy? A division redeploying? We have seen this before. We hit them. We stop them. You don't understand, Oberst." The captain unfolds a piece of paper. A report from a Kradschützen, motorcycle scout patrol, that had managed to get close. It is not a convoy. It is one convoy. It has been moving for 3 days, without pause. Hoffacker looks up, a flicker of disbelief in his eyes. "What? Our patrol hid in a bombed-out church for 4 hours. They counted. 1 truck every 90 seconds. Sometimes faster. They are loaded with fuel, ammunition, and rations. They drive all night, Herr Oberst. Blacked out. Our Stukas hit them. Our snipers pick off drivers. It does not matter. The column. It just closes the gap and continues. It is a snake with no head and no tail." The colonel walks to a broken window. In the still afternoon air, he can hear it. A low, constant mechanical drone. It is not thunder. It is not artillery. It is the sound of thousands of engines miles away, a constant vibration on the horizon. He thinks of his own Panzer IVs, hidden in the woods, silent and cold, waiting for fuel that will never come. He thinks of the logistical brilliance of the Reich's 1940 campaign, how they outran the French. This is different. This is not brilliance. It is brute force. It is an industrial impossibility. The Americans are not just fighting a war. They are a factory, and they have put their army on a conveyor belt. How do we stop it? Hoffacker whispers, not to the captain, but to the air. The captain's reply is stark. We can't. We can only stop one truck. We cannot stop the river. For the first time, the veteran panzer commander feels a sensation he has never known. Utter, logistical hopelessness. August 29, 2024, 11 hours. A forward supply depot codenamed Red Ball 1, near Chartres. The field is a sea of mud and chaos. Hundreds of trucks are parked, engines steaming, while others jostle for position. This is the turnaround. PFC Lincoln Washington practically falls out of his cab, his legs numb and useless. His ears ring. His entire body is a single vibrating ache. He and Deacon have just completed a 54-hour round trip, snatching maybe 3 hours of sleep in 15-minute bursts while the other drove. Line up. Line up, an MP shouts, his voice hoarse. Refuel and reload. You're turning around in 30. 30? Deacon leans against the truck's fender, his eyes half closed. 30 minutes? Lieutenant, we ain't slept. We ain't ate nothing but a cold K ration in 2 days. The men are seeing things, he's not wrong. Link rubs his eyes and the world smears. He keeps seeing shadows on the road that look like German Panzerfaust teams, only to blink and find they are just broken signposts. They call them highway ghosts. I don't care if you're seeing pink elephants, Private. The MP snaps, not unkindly. Patton's tanks are dry. You see that tent? He points to a Red Cross tent where women are handing out coffee and donuts. Get a cup. Be back at this truck in 29 minutes or I'll have your stripes. Link and Deacon stumble toward the tent. A white Red Cross volunteer smiles, her face a stark, clean contrast to the grime. You boys look tired, she says, handing them steaming cups. Ma'am, tired ain't the word, Link says. The hot, bitter coffee scalds his throat, but it's the first warm thing he's tasted in days. It feels like life. You're doing God's work, son, she says. You're the talk of the army. Link just nods, too exhausted to speak. He watches a mechanic frantically swapping a tire on a nearby deuce and a half. The driver is asleep, slumped over the steering wheel, his helmet still on. The mechanic doesn't even bother to wake him. This is the system. It is inhuman. The Red Ball Express is not just a convoy. It is a machine. And the drivers, nearly 75% of whom are African American, are its moving parts. They are not expected to rest. They are not expected to eat. They are only expected to drive. The machine cannot slow down, because the war itself will slow down with it. Link finishes his coffee in 2 gulps. The caffeine hits his system like a jolt of electricity. Come on, Deke, let's go. Go where, Link? Back into the dark? Back to the war. Link pulls his helmet back on. They're loading artillery shells this time. They walk back to their truck, which is already being refueled. The 29 minutes are almost up. August 30th, 1944, 4 hours. A cold, damp field just west of the Meuse River. Sergeant Pop Harris of the 4th Armored Division, 8th Tank Battalion, sits on the cold steel hull of his M4 Sherman tank. Darlene, for 36 hours. Darlene has been silent, a 30-ton steel coffin. The entire battalion is parked, exposed, and out of gas. They have been listening to the distant, ominous sound of German Navalwerfer rockets, knowing a counterattack is coming. It's over, kid, Pop mutters to his gunner, a 19-year-old from Ohio. We made it this far, and we're gonna die right here 'cause some pencil pusher forgot to order the gas. The kid shivers, pulling his jacket tighter. I hear 'em, Sarge, the Panzers. They're coming. A new sound joins the night, a low, grinding rumble, but not the sharp clatter of tank treads. It's the sound Link and Deacon know so well, the groan of heavy-duty engines. What in God's name? Pop stands up on the turret. Through the pre-dawn mist, a single tiny cat's eye headlight appears. Then another. And another. A moment later, a massive deuce-and-a-half truck, its sides caked in mud, rumbles into their makeshift perimeter. The driver's face is a black smudge of exhaustion. This the 8th Tank Battalion? The driver yells, his voice a gravelly wreck. Who the hell are you? Pop shouts back, grabbing his M1 Garand. Red Ball, Sergeant. We got your gas. Pop stares. Behind the first truck, another pulls up. And another. An endless, ghostly column emerging from the darkness. Men, black and white, jump from the cabs. They're not combat troops. They're drivers, mechanics, laborers. They are covered in oil, and some are literally falling asleep on their feet. PFC Lincoln Washington's truck is the 5th in line. He stumbles out, his hands bleeding from gripping the wheel. Where do you want him, Sergeant? He gasps. Pop is speechless. He points to the line of silent Shermans. Here, my God, man, here! The Red Ball drivers, running on fumes, begin tossing the 5-gallon jerrycans to the ground. Clang, clang, clang. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. Tankers scramble from their positions, forming human chains, passing the cans. They begin fueling their tanks, the scent of high-octane gasoline filling the air. Link watches the tankers work, a strange feeling in his gut. These white soldiers, men who wouldn't look at him twice back at base, are patting his comrades on the back, offering them cigarettes, sharing water from their canteens. "You boy," Pop says, shaking his head as he looks at Link. "Where did you come from?" "Cherbourg, Sergeant," Link says, managing a weary grin. "Non-stop." Pop just stares at him, then at the still-arriving column of trucks. He looks back at his tank, now gurgling as the fuel pours in. He raises his hand to his radio man. "Get on the horn. Tell regiment. We just got the T-signal, T-signal. Trucks, tanks, and tankers. The holy trinity of armored warfare. The Red Ball has arrived. The war is back on." September 5th, 1944. 1 Wanks hours. The Red Ball Highway, somewhere near Rams. The engine of Link Washington's Deuce and a Half is making a new sound. It's not a roar anymore. It's a high-pitched metallic scream. The oil pressure gauge is flickering near zero. "She's gonna blow, Link. She's gonna blow," Deacon Price says, his voice flat. He's too tired to sound scared. "She just needs to make it to the depot," Link replies, his own voice a stranger's. He's staring at the taillights ahead, but they've split into 4. He blinks hard. 2. They are no longer just men. They are part of the truck. The truck is part of the convoy. And the convoy is part of a machine that is devouring itself to feed the front. The statistics are inhuman. 6,000 trucks, 23,000 men. In a single day, the Red Ball Express is moving over 12,000 tons of supplies. It's the equivalent of 40 cargo ships. But the cost is catastrophic. Tires are vaporizing. The original quota called for 3,500 replacement tires a month. The Red Ball is burning 3,500 tires a day. Engines designed for intermittent use are running for 60 hours straight. They are seizing, cracking, and dying on the road, and the men are dying with them. Not just from snipers. They are falling asleep at the wheel. 2 trucks ahead, a Deuce and a Half swerves just slightly. It clips the soft shoulder. The driver, a 19-year-old from a quartermaster battalion, is fast asleep, his head resting on the vibrating steering wheel. The truck tips, slowly at first, then crashes onto its side, spilling 5 tons bounce of 105mm artillery shells across the road. Link slams his brakes, skidding in the mud. Horns blare. MPs are there in seconds, waving flares, their faces demonic in the red light. "Pull around him." "Pull around." "Don't stop the convoy." "Move, move!" They don't check on the driver. They don't secure the shells. The only priority is the flow. "God forgive us," Deacon whispers as Link wrenches the wheel and accelerates around the wreck. This is the Red Ball in September. It is no longer a daring improvisation. It is a desperate, grinding, braking machine, fueled by caffeine, nicotine, and the iron will of men who have forgotten what it feels like to be still. September 12th, 1944, Chief Headquarters, Versailles, France. The opulent, mirror-lined halls of the Trianon Palace Hotel, now Supreme Headquarters, are quiet. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander, stands with his chief logistician, Lieutenant General John C. H. Lee. The maps on the wall tell a story of incredible success. Patton is near the Moselle. Hodges is pushing toward the Siegfried Line, but the other maps, the ones showing logistics, tell a different story. They are covered in red, not for the enemy, but for their own supply lines. "John," Eisenhower says, his voice quiet, "I've just had Patton on the line. He says he can be in Berlin in a week if I give him the gas. Then I had Monty on the line. He says he can be in Berlin in a week if I take the gas from Patton and give it to him." General Lee doesn't smile. He points to a stack of reports on his desk. "General, they can both have Berlin. The problem is they can't keep it. They can't even get there. The Red Ball is holding this army together by a thread." He hands Eisenhower a single sheet of paper. It's a maintenance report from the Transportation Corps. "These are not projections, Ike," Lee says. "These are facts. As of this morning, over 1/3 of the Red Ball truck fleet is non-operational. They've been driven to destruction. We have no more tires. We are cannibalizing brand new trucks for spare engines. But that's not the worst of it." He taps another line item, driver casualties, non-combat. The number is staggering, higher than some infantry battalions. "They are falling asleep," Lee says, his voice thick. "They are driving off bridges. They are hitting trees. They are collapsing from exhaustion at the wheel. We did the impossible, but the impossible has a price. The machine is breaking. The men are breaking." Eisenhower looks at the casualty figures, his face grim. He walks to the window, looking out over the pristine, manicured gardens. He thinks of the men he saw on the road during his last inspection, the exhausted, hollow-eyed faces of the drivers, almost exclusively African American, waving wearily as his convoy sped past. They had been asked to perform a miracle, and they had. They had supplied an army group moving faster than any army in history, across 400 miles of shattered country, 24 hours a day, for nearly 3 weeks. They had done it without sleep, without complaint, and under fire. It was never meant to last this long, Eisenhower says. It was a stopgap, an emergency measure. It became the entire offensive, sir, Lee replies. But it ends now. We've captured the port of Antwerp. The railways are finally being repaired. We can start shipping by rail. The red ball, it has to stop. We have to shut it down or it will simply cease to exist. Eisenhower nods, a profound sense of respect and sadness settling on him. Shut it down, John. Give the men a rest. Give them whatever they need. He turns back to the map. They've done their job. They've given us France. November 16th, 1944, 08 hours. A frozen, muddy depot near Herson, France. Snow is falling, thick and wet, turning the mud into a freezing slurry. PFC Lincoln Washington's Deuce and a Half, Deacon's Delight 2, the first one having thrown a rod outside Reims, limps into the depot. The truck is a ghost of itself. The canvas top is shredded by shrapnel. One headlight is gone and the engine sounds like a coffee can full of bolts. Link's hands are permanently, agonizingly, curled into the shape of the steering wheel. He hasn't felt his feet in 2 days. Beside him, Deacon Price is asleep, his head thudding rhythmically against the metal doorframe, his breathing a shallow rasp. This is the end of the line. The Red Ball Express has been officially and finally deactivated. Link pulls up to the checkpoint, where a new MP bundled in a heavy greatcoat holds up a hand. That's it, driver, the MP says, his voice muffled by a scarf. You're the last one in this sector. The route's closed. Railhead's active in Liege. Link just stares at him. The words don't make sense. Closed? The Red Ball doesn't close. It just is. Son, I said you're done. Pull her over there. The MP points to a long line of dead trucks. And get some chow. You're relieved. Link nods, his head feeling like it's full of wet sand. He nudges Deacon. Deke, wake up. We're done. Deacon's eyes flutter open, bloodshot and vacant. Done? Done what? Done driving. Link coasts the truck into the graveyard line. He pulls the handbrake. For a full minute he sits, just listening to the sick idle of the engine that has been his entire world for 81 days. He reaches for the ignition key. His hand, shaking violently from nerve damage and exhaustion, can't grip it. He fumbles, his fingers like useless claws. I got it, Deacon whispers. He reaches over and turns the key. The engine sputters, shudders, and dies. The silence that floods the cab is deafening. It's an absolute terrifying void, a pressure in their ears. For 3 months, their lives have been defined by the 24-hour roar of engines. Now there is nothing. Link opens the door and slides out, his legs having no memory of anything but the clutch and the accelerator buckle. He collapses, sitting hard in the freezing mud. He doesn't have the strength to stand up. He looks at his hands. They are raw, blistered, and locked in a frozen grip. He has just completed the final leg of the longest, most vital supply run in military history. He and 23,000 other men, 75% of them African American, have just delivered over 500,000 tons of supplies. They have saved Patton. They have broken the back of the Wehrmacht's logistics. And now, sitting in the snow, PFC Lincoln Washington has no idea how to be still. November 20th, 1944. OKH headquarters, Zossen, Germany. The air in the concrete bunker is stale, carrying the scent of damp wool and ozone from the air filtration systems. General Feldmarschall Gerd von Rundstedt, the aging, aristocratic Commander-in-Chief West, looks at a map of France. He is not looking at the troop dispositions. He is looking at the web of roads. Opposite him, General der Panzertruppe Hasso von Manteuffel, a man who lives and breathes armored warfare, sips ersatz coffee. They are conducting a grim after-action review of the collapse in France. It was their air power, Herr Feldmarschall, von Manteuffel states, a familiar argument. Their Jabos. We could not move a single tank in daylight. Yes, von Rundstedt says, waving a dismissive, liver-spotted hand. The Jabos hurt us. They pinned us. But they did not supply Patton. They did not push him to the Rhine. He slides an intelligence summary across the table. It is thin, based on POW interrogations and scout reports. It is titled Roter Kugel Express. This, von Rundstedt says, is what defeated us. This, Red Ball, von Manteuffel scoffs. A truck convoy? General Feldmarschall, we invented the Blitzkrieg. We understand supply. No, von Rundstedt says, his voice cutting. We do not. We mastered the 80-mile dash. The Americans. They have industrialized it. He stands pacing the small room. Think of it. We break out. We advance. We stop to refuel, rearm, and let the supply columns catch up. It is the rhythm of war. It is logistics. It is sensible. He taps the report. The Americans found their armies starving 200 miles from their beaches. By all our doctrines, they should have stopped. They should have consolidated for a month. Patton should be sitting in Rennes. Instead, von Rundstedt continues, his voice a mix of disbelief and professional horror. They seized the entire road network of northern France. They did not ask. They took it. They turned 2 highways into a 400-mile one-way loop, and then they ran it 24 hours a day for 3 months. Von Manteuffel is silent, the implications dawning on him. Our intelligence, von Rundstedt says, reports that the drivers were almost entirely Neger. They're auxiliary troops, men we would use for labor. The Americans put them at the wheel of the most vital logistical operation of the campaign. And these men, they did not stop. They drove until their trucks disintegrated. They drove until they collapsed. They pumped 12,000 tons of material a day into the front. He looks von Manteuffel in the eye. We are planning a new offensive in the Ardennes. We are hoarding fuel, spoonful by spoonful, for a single armored thrust. We pray we can capture their fuel depots, because we have none. He throws the report back on the table. While we plan one desperate gamble, the Americans, they just put their foot on the accelerator. It is not generalship. It is mass production. It is a thing we cannot match. We do not know how.